He had money, power, and a name everyone respected, but not one person he truly loved. When Ethan Blake, a cold billionaire CEO, stepped into the emergency room that night, he didn't expect anything more than a routine business injury report. But the moment he saw her standing there, everything inside him froze. A woman he once pushed away. A woman he didn't think he'd ever see again. A woman holding two little boys who looked exactly like him. His heartbeat stopped. His world crashed. His past returned in the form of a family he never knew existed. And the worst part, the doctor whispered, one of the boys is in critical condition. He asked for his father. Ethan had never felt fear like this, the kind that claws your chest, rips your throat, and forces you to face the truth you ran from. Tonight, everything was about to change. Ethan Blake walked through the polished hospital doors with the same confidence he used during corporate battles. His expensive suit contrasted sharply with the chaotic emergency room, but he barely noticed. His crew had been injured at a construction site, and Ethan came because he needed to control the situation, like always. But then he froze. A woman stood at the nurse's station, shaking, clutching two boys close to her sides. Her long brown hair fell over her shoulders, the same way he remembered. Her voice cracked as she argued with the nurse, her eyes red from crying. Please, please just let me see him, she begged. He's only 5. Ethan's chest tightened. No, it can't be her. But it was Leela Hart. 3 years ago, he ended everything with one cruel line. You don't fit my world. Leave before I regret ever meeting you. And she left. Without tears, without explanations, without looking back. But now she stood there, older, stronger, but broken in a way he couldn't understand. Before he could speak, one of the boys turned toward him. His small face shifted, eyes widening. He had Ethan's eyes, Ethan's hair, Ethan's expression when he was trying not to cry. Ethan felt a punch in the gut. The second boy looked up to same features. Same jawline, same confused stare. Twins. His twins. His sons. The world tilted sideways. Ethan grabbed the counter for balance. Feeling his lungs collapse under the weight of truth, he whispered, voice barely audible, Lila, are they? She didn't look at him, not even once. Not everything is about you, Ethan. But her voice trembled, her shoulders shook, her heart betrayed her, even if her words didn't. Before he could respond, a doctor arrived. Ms. Hart, your son Liam is still unconscious. We're trying to stabilize his breathing. He keeps repeating something. He keeps saying he wants his father. Ethan's pulse stopped. Lila closed her eyes painfully, exhaling a breath full of heartbreak. I told you, she whispered to the doctor. He doesn't have one. Ethan stepped forward. I'm here. Leela finally turned her head slowly, reluctantly, and the look she gave him could melt steel. You don't get to be here, Ethan, not today, not after everything. The doctor interrupted. Ma'am, the child needs emotional stability. If he believes this man is his father, he is. Lila cut in bitterly. But he never wanted to be? Her words slammed into Ethan harder than any boardroom betrayal. He took a breath, steadying himself like he did before facing shareholders. Lila, he said quietly, let me see him. No. Her voice cracked. No, Ethan, you don't get to walk into our lives because the universe suddenly wants to be dramatic. You made your choice. Ethan felt a lifetime of regret press against his ribs. I didn't know, he whispered. You didn't ask. She shot back. The boys clung to her legs, confused, scared, looking between both adults. Ethan's heart broke seeing their little hands shaking. The doctor looked at Leela. He's asking for his father. If this man truly is. Leela swallowed hard. For a moment, her mask slipped, revealing a pain deeper than any anger. Then she stepped aside. Fine, she whispered. Go. But don't hurt him the way you hurt me. Ethan walked into the room, his footsteps heavy with guilt, fear, and love he had never allowed himself to feel. And there, lying on the hospital bed, was a small boy with oxygen tubes, pale skin, and tiny hands clutching the blanket. His son. His blood. His heartbeat. Everything inside Ethan shattered. Ethan stood frozen at the doorway, unable to move, unable to breathe. The machines around Liam beeped steadily, the soft rhythm filling the room like a heartbeat trying to hold on. The boy looked impossibly small on the large hospital bed, his tiny chest rising and falling with effort. His skin was pale, his lips almost colorless, and his eyes were half open like he was fighting to stay awake. When those eyes shifted toward Ethan, everything inside him collapsed. They were his eyes, his childhood eyes, the same shape, the same color, the same way they softened when scared. And suddenly, Ethan Blake, the ruthless CEO who controlled boardrooms, demolished competitors, and never flinched in the face of pressure. Felt like a terrified child. Liam tried to lift his head. "Mommy, mommy." His voice was hoarse, barely a whisper. Ethan's throat tightened painfully. He stepped closer, slowly, afraid the boy might shatter like glass. "It's okay," Ethan said softly. "I'm here." Liam blinked at the sound of his voice. Confusion flickered across his face. Then something else. Recognition. Maybe, maybe not. But he didn't pull away. He didn't cry. He simply stared. His small fingers twitching like he wanted to reach out but didn't have the strength. Ethan's chest ached. He gently sat in the chair beside the bed. "I'm Ethan," he murmured. I'm your word stuck in his throat. Father. A title he had lost before he even knew. He had the chance to earn it. Liam's breathing hitched, and he whispered, "Daddy." Ethan's breath broke. Tears real. Uncontrolled tears burned down his face before he could stop them. He covered his mouth, his shoulders shaking. Every wall he had ever built collapsing in the presence of a child who had been waiting for him. "I'm here." Ethan choked out. "I'm right here, buddy. I'm not leaving." Liam's tiny hand lifted weakly, trembling. Ethan took it instantly, holding it like it was the last piece of his soul left on earth. A soft gasp came from the doorway. Lila, she stood there, unmoving, her hand over her mouth, her eyes wide and shimmering with tears she wasn't prepared to feel. She expected Ethan to be cold, detached, distant, the same man who told her she didn't belong in his world. But this man, the one sitting beside their son, crying like his entire world was lying unconscious on that bed, was someone she didn't recognize. She took a step inside. Ethan. He didn't look at her. He kept his forehead against Liam's hand. Whispering broken words only a father who had lost years could say. "I didn't know he existed," he whispered. "But now I can't imagine my life without him." Lila's chest tightened. For years, she had prepared herself to raise the boys alone. She had accepted that Ethan Blake would never be part of their world. She had built walls, made of hurt, disappointment, and survival. But one moment, one real moment of vulnerability from him, shook everything. The doctors said he fainted at school, she said weakly. They said his breathing collapsed, that he panicked, and the only thing he kept saying was, "Daddy." Ethan finished, voice trembling. Lila nodded, eyes filling. He kept asking for someone he never met, someone I told him didn't want him. Those words sliced Ethan open. He finally looked up at her, eyes red, face wet, guilt carved into every feature. "Lila," he said quietly, "I didn't reject him. I rejected you. Because I was stupid. Because I was angry. Because I thought protecting my image mattered more than protecting you." Her lips trembled. "And you destroyed everything." "I know," he whispered, "and I swear, I will spend the rest of my life making this right." She shook her head, turning away, pressing her hand to her forehead as if the emotions were too much. "You don't just show up and become a father, Ethan. It doesn't work like that." "But he needs me," Ethan said, "and I need him." Lila closed her eyes tightly. "That's the problem," she whispered. "Where were you when I needed you? When we needed you? When I was alone in the hospital giving birth to 2 boys who looked exactly like you? When they cried for a father I couldn't give them." Her voice finally cracked. "Where were you then?" Ethan stood up slowly, his voice low but firm. "I was lost. Pathetic. Afraid of love. Afraid of losing control. Afraid of being vulnerable. But today," he looked at Liam. "Today I realized I already lost everything the moment I lost you." Silence filled the room. A painful, heavy silence. Until Liam whispered, "Mommy, Daddy, don't fight." Both adults froze. Ethan dropped back into the chair, taking the boy's hand again. Lila covered her mouth to stifle a sob. And in that small hospital room, with a fragile child lying between them, something shifted. Not forgiveness. Not reunion. Not love. Something simpler. The beginning of a new truth. Ethan didn't sleep that night. Not because he was worried, but because every time he closed his eyes, he saw Layla collapsing, saw the fear in their little boy's eyes, saw 5 years of pain hitting him all at once. He sat beside her hospital bed, elbows on his knees, watching her breathe. She looked too pale, too fragile, too unlike the fire-hearted woman he once loved. His son was curled against him, asleep, small head resting on Ethan's arm like it belonged there. 5 years. 5 years he never got to hold him. 5 years someone else could have taken that place. A sharp knot twisted inside him. When Layla finally stirred, Ethan leaned forward instantly. "Layla, hey, I'm here." She blinked up at him slowly, disoriented. "Ethan, what time is it? Late or early?" "I didn't check." His voice was soft. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a building. She whispered with a weak smile. He didn't smile back. Not tonight. He couldn't. Layla's eyes drifted downward, straight to the little boy sleeping against Ethan's side. Her breath caught. You stayed, she whispered. Where else would I go? Ethan replied quietly. A silence fell, not awkward, not cold, just full of everything they had never said. After a moment, she exhaled shakily. You saw the reports, right? I did. His jaw tightened. But you're going to explain them to me. All of it. Layla slowly pushed herself up, wincing. Ethan reached out instantly to support her, and the moment her hand touched his, her whole body froze. He felt it too. The familiarity, the electricity, the history. But she pulled her hand back, staring at her lap. Ethan, I didn't leave because I wanted to. Then why? His voice broke. Layla, you vanished. No message. No call. Nothing. I thought you died, she whispered sadly. Moved on, he finished, softer this time, and I forced myself to move on. Her eyes filled with tears. Ethan, someone threatened me. His entire body went still. What? She swallowed hard. When I found out I was pregnant, I wanted to tell you. I tried. Her voice trembled. But someone from your company, someone with influence, told me that if I didn't disappear, if I told you, if I stayed anywhere near you, she looked down at their son, they would take him away. Before he was even born, the air left Ethan's lungs. What the hell do you mean someone from my company? Layla wiped her eyes. I don't know who. I never saw their face, but they knew everything. My doctor. My address. They even knew the complications I had early on. Ethan's fingers slowly curled into fists. Someone targeted her. Someone threatened the mother of his child. Someone kept his family away from him. And someone worked under his roof. The realization struck him like lightning. Layla, he whispered, voice shaking with fury. If someone in my company did this, I'll find them, and they'll regret ever breathing. Layla shook her head weakly. I didn't tell you this to start a war. You already survived one, Ethan said. I'm just late to it. She looked away, voice cracking. I didn't want you in danger, and I didn't want our son to grow up with enemies. Ethan's throat tightened. He grew up without a father, he whispered. Layla flinched. I know, and I'm sorry. I thought I was protecting him. You were, Ethan said quietly, looking at the little boy sleeping trustfully against him. But now, I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. For the first time since she woke up, Layla's eyes softened. You mean that? More than anything. Silence again. But this time, warm, full, hopeful. Layla's voice dropped to a whisper. Ethan, does he know who you are? Ethan ran a gentle hand through the boy's hair. No, he breathed, but he will, and I want him to hear it from me. Layla's lips trembled, her voice so small it broke his heart. I didn't know if you'd want him. Ethan closed his eyes. Layla, he whispered, I would have wanted him even if you hated me. Her tears fell. And for the first time in 5 years, Ethan reached for her hand and she didn't pull away. Ethan, before she could say more, the little boy stirred, rubbing his sleepy eyes. Mom, Layla smiled softly. I'm right here, baby. The boy blinked up at Ethan, then at Layla, then back at Ethan. Mom, he whispered. Did my dad ever come? Layla froze. Ethan's heart stopped. This moment, this single moment would define everything. Ethan took a slow breath, leaned closer, and whispered with a voice that shook. I'm here, buddy. The boy stared at him, wide-eyed, silent. Frozen. You, he whispered. You're my dad. Ethan nodded, his eyes burning. If you'll have me. The boy didn't answer. He didn't speak. He just threw his tiny arms around Ethan's neck and held on like he'd been waiting his whole life. Layla covered her mouth, sobbing quietly. And Ethan held his son tighter, whispering into his hair. I'm never leaving you again, I promise. But as he looked over Layla's shoulder, he saw something through the window. A shadow, watching them. Someone who knew the truth. Someone who didn't want their reunion to happen. Someone who wasn't finished. And for the first time tonight, Ethan realized this wasn't just a reunion, it was the beginning of a battle. A battle he intended to win for his son, for Layla, for the family he was never supposed to have. Ethan didn't move at first. He kept one arm wrapped around his son while his eyes stayed locked on the shadow outside the glass. A tall figure. Still, watching them with the kind of calm that wasn't calm at all. Layla followed his gaze. Her breath hitched. Ethan, that's him. Ethan stiffened. Are you sure? I'd know that silhouette anywhere, she whispered. He followed me twice during my pregnancy. I never saw his face, But I remember the way he stood. Ethan's jaw clenched, anger crawling up his spine like fire. 5 years. 5 years this man hid. 5 years he kept Ethan away from his son. Not anymore. He rose slowly from the chair, placing his son gently onto the bed beside Layla. Ethan, Layla whispered, grabbing his wrist. Don't go out there alone. He placed his hand over hers. I'm not letting him get near you ever again. He stepped out of the room. The hallway was dim, silent except for the hum of machines inside patient rooms. Ethan walked slowly, controlled, every muscle tight. The shadow moved, not away, casually, like he wasn't scared, like he wanted Ethan to follow. And Ethan did. Through the hallway, past the nurse's station, toward the emergency exit that led to the parking lot. When Ethan pushed open the door, cold night air hit his face. The man stood under a flickering street lamp, hands in his pockets, face hidden under a hood. You're late, the man said calmly. Ethan froze, his voice. That voice. You, Ethan breathed. I know your voice. The man chuckled darkly and slowly lifted his head. Ethan felt the ground shift under him. It was Marcus Hale, his former coup. The man Ethan fired 2 years ago for corruption and blackmail. Ethan thought he was gone, disappeared, out of state, but he hadn't disappeared. He had been waiting for someone who ruined my life. Marcus said with a smirk. You really made this easy, bringing your little reunion to a public hospital. Cute. Ethan stepped closer, fists clenched so tight his knuckles cracked. You threatened Layla. He growled. You threatened my unborn child. Marcus shrugged. You were distracted, weak, falling in love with someone beneath your status. I had to keep the company safe. Ethan grabbed Marcus by the collar and slammed him against the wall so hard the light above them flickered. You kept my family away from me, Ethan roared, voice trembling with fury. Marcus laughed, actually laughed. And look how emotional you've become. He taunted. A son you didn't even know existed. A woman who ran because she believed a lie. I fed her. You were so easy to manipulate. Ethan's grip tightened. I should break you right here. Marcus leaned in, whispering. You want to? But you won't. And why's that? Ethan hissed. Because, Marcus said slowly, eyes glinting with sick satisfaction. I'm not done with them yet. Ethan froze. Marcus smiled wider. You think Layla ended up in the hospital by accident? You think stress caused it? He leaned closer. I promised her that one day I'd finish what I started. Ethan's heart stopped. Marcus whispered. She's not safe. Ethan, neither is that child. Ethan's rage exploded. He slammed Marcus to the ground, pinning him with his knee, fists raised to crush him. Dad, Ethan's breath caught. His son's voice, tiny, terrified. Ethan turned. His little boy was standing at the doorway, barefoot, holding on to the metal railing for balance, eyes huge with fear. Dad, stop. Ethan froze. Marcus saw the hesitation and smiled, sickeningly triumphant. That's right. He whispered. Be daddy, be soft. It's why you'll lose. Ethan's fists trembled. His son took a shaky step toward him. Dad, Mom said hurting people makes you hurt inside. Please don't. Ethan closed his eyes. Slowly, painfully, he stood up. Marcus exhaled in relief, dusting himself off. You're weak. Marcus spat. No. Ethan said quietly, pulling his son into his arms. I'm just done letting you write the story. Marcus turned away. You'll regret this, Ethan. All of you will. He stepped into the darkness, disappearing between parked cars. Ethan held his son tighter, feeling the boy's little heartbeat racing against his chest. It's okay, Ethan whispered. I've got you. I won't let anything touch you. But as he walked back inside, Layla stood in the hallway, one hand over her mouth, tears streaming. She had heard everything. Ethan, she whispered, voice cracking. He's coming back. He won't stop. Ethan looked at her, suddenly filled with a clarity he'd never felt before. Then let him come, he said, holding her and their son both. He spent 5 years tearing us apart. Now, we fight back. Layla looked up at him. You mean, together? For the first time, Ethan said softly, we'll finally do this as a family. Behind them, unseen, a security camera's red light blinked. Someone else was watching. Someone else was recording this. Wasn't over. This was only the beginning. Ethan didn't sleep that night. Not because he was afraid, because he couldn't. His son slept peacefully between him and Layla, oblivious to the shadow that had threatened them only hours ago. But Ethan's mind raced with plans, strategies, fears. Marcus Hale had been smart, patient, merciless. He had tracked Layla, manipulated events, and now he had vanished into the night, leaving a warning behind. Ethan knew one thing: he couldn't let Marcus terrorize his family ever again. Morning came cold and gray, with a drizzle painting the streets silver. Ethan sat at the small kitchen table in Layla's apartment, staring at the napkin where his son had drawn a little house, a tree, and a stick figure family holding hands. His heart clenched. That drawing wasn't just art, it was a promise. Layla poured him coffee silently, understanding without words. Her eyes held the same calm determination she had carried through pregnancy, childbirth, and these past turbulent years. She was his partner in this, not just for love, but for survival. "We can't go to the police yet," she said softly. "If Marcus knows we're planning something, he'll vanish again. We need proof, and a plan." Ethan nodded. "I've got a contact. Someone who owes me a favor. He can dig into Marcus's accounts, track his movements, find where he hides. And if he finds us first," Layla asked, her voice steady but concerned. "Then we make sure he regrets it," Ethan said, his jaw tight. "We protect our son. Nothing else matters." The days that followed were tense. Ethan spent hours coordinating private security, monitoring Marcus's known associates, and scanning for any signs of his return. Layla juggled her work at the hospital with keeping their son safe, teaching him, and slowly trying to rebuild the carefree moments that had been stolen from them. At night, Ethan would sit in the living room with his son asleep in the next room, replaying the events over and over. Every choice Marcus had made, every lie he had told, every shadow he had left behind, Ethan cataloged it all. He wouldn't make the same mistake again. Then, one evening, the first breakthrough came. Marcus had made a mistake, a small one, but big enough for Ethan's team to catch. A wire transfer had been traced to a safe house outside the city, the kind of safe house that screamed secrecy. Ethan stood at the balcony, watching the city glow beneath him. He turned to Layla. "This is it. He's vulnerable. We strike tonight." Layla's eyes widened. "Ethan, we can't rush. Our son. He's safe here," Ethan reassured her, gesturing to the sleeping boy. "Tonight, we end this. Together." By midnight, Ethan, Layla, and a small team of trusted allies arrived near the safe house. Rain-slicked streets reflected neon signs, making the city look both beautiful and treacherous. Ethan's pulse raced, but not with fear. Determination surged through him, focused and lethal. Inside the safe house, Marcus sat at a desk, oblivious. He was reviewing files, smug, thinking himself untouchable. He hadn't seen Ethan coming. The door slammed open. "Marcus Hale," Ethan shouted, stepping forward with authority. Marcus spun, surprise flashing across his face. Ethan Hale. Layla stepped beside him, calm and controlled. "It's over, Marcus." Ethan's team entered behind them, cornering Marcus. Panic flickered in his eyes. The first real emotion Ethan had seen. "You won't get away with this," Marcus hissed, attempting to regain control. Ethan leaned close. "I've already lost 5 years. I won't lose one more. You're done." With precise movements, Marcus was restrained. The files, the accounts, the evidence of years of manipulation. Ethan's team secured everything. Marcus's reign of terror had ended. Back at Layla's apartment, Ethan finally let himself breathe. He watched their son run to them, excitement lighting his little face. "Daddy, you caught the bad guy." Ethan lifted him into his arms, spinning him in a circle. Layla smiled, leaning against him. "Together," she whispered. "Yes," Ethan said, finally letting the tension of years drain away. "Together, always." That night, they sat as a family, in the quiet warmth of their home. The storm outside mirrored the one they had survived, but now it had passed. And as their son drifted off to sleep, Ethan held both Layla's hand and the knowledge that the future they had fought so hard for was finally theirs. But somewhere, far away, a single red light blinked on an abandoned server. Marcus had left a final message, a hint, a whisper that his story wasn't over. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Then we're ready," he said, voice firm, protective, unwavering. "Whatever comes next, we face it together. No one hurts my family again." Layla rested her head on his shoulder. "We're stronger than ever. And we're a family," Ethan added, looking at their sleeping son. "Nothing can break us now." The camera pans out through the window, city lights shimmering like stars. And for the first time in years, Ethan and their son are truly safe for now. But one thing is clear: their love, their bond, and their courage are unbreakable, and the world better take notice. The days after Marcus's capture felt like a fragile piece. Ethan and Layla tried to return to normal life, but the shadow of what could happen lingered. Every knock on the door, every unexpected message, made them flinch. Their son, little Lucas, seemed oblivious, filled with the innocent joy of a child who had already faced danger and survived. His laughter was medicine, his curiosity a reminder of what they had fought for. But Ethan knew Marcus wasn't finished. Somewhere, hidden, he was plotting. Late one night, Ethan sat in the study, scanning files, replaying every security feed. Layla entered quietly, carrying a cup of tea. "You're still worried," she said softly. "I can't stop," Ethan admitted. "We've won the battle, but not the war. Marcus isn't the kind to surrender quietly." Layla placed her hand over his. "Then we face it together, like we always have." Ethan nodded. She was right. Their family was no longer just a bond, it was a shield. Unbreakable. The trap. 2 weeks later, a courier arrived at their apartment with a single envelope. Inside was a cryptic message. "The final move. Tonight, be ready." Ethan's pulse quickened. Marcus. He had somehow escaped custody. By nightfall, Ethan and Layla prepared. Their apartment was cleared. Lucas safely asleep at a neighbor's with a trusted caretaker. Security cameras were active, and Ethan's team was on standby. The city's streets glistened under the rain. Neon signs reflected in puddles like shards of broken glass. Every shadow felt alive. Ethan gripped Layla's hand. "No matter what happens, we stay together. That's our strength." Layla nodded, determination hardening her gaze. Always. Face to face, Marcus waited in an abandoned warehouse at the edge of the city. When Ethan and Layla arrived, he stood at the far end, arms crossed, a smirk on his face. Well, the perfect little family." Marcus sneered. "You really think you can stop me?" Ethan stepped forward, calm but lethal. "This ends tonight, Marcus. You've hurt enough people. You're done." "Done?" Marcus laughed. "I don't think so. Not until you lose everything you love. Not until you see your family broken." Layla's eyes flashed. "You'll never touch them. Not now. Not ever." Marcus lunged, but Layla was ready. Using skills she had honed over months of fear and vigilance, she dodged, leading Marcus into a trap Ethan had planned. Hidden exits were blocked, and backup security moved in. Marcus realized too late he had underestimated them. Ethan grabbed him, holding him firmly. "It's over, Marcus. You won't hurt anyone else." And with a final coordinated effort, Marcus was restrained, his power finally broken. The warehouse echoed with silence, broken only by Ethan's heavy breathing. Family reunion back at home. Lucas ran into their arms as if he had known they would return. Ethan lifted him high, spinning him in circles, while Layla watched, tears of relief streaking her face. "Daddy, Mummy, you're here," Lucas shouted. "Yes, son, we're here, always," Ethan said, holding both Layla and Lucas close. That night, the three of them sat together on the couch, the city lights shining outside. Their world had been chaotic, dangerous, and unpredictable, but in that moment, it was simple. It was theirs. Ethan looked at Layla. "I promised I'd protect you both. I failed once, but I won't fail again." Layla smiled softly. "You never did. We did it together." Lucas yawned, curling into their arms. "I'm safe now, right?" "Yes," Ethan whispered, brushing his hair back. "Safe? Forever." Epilogue. A new beginning. Weeks later, life returned to a calmer rhythm. Ethan took a step back from the relentless corporate world, investing time in his family. Layla continued her work at the hospital, but now had Ethan's unwavering support. Lucas thrived, his laughter filling every corner of their home. Together, they built a world of love, trust, and security, a family forged through trials, strengthened by courage, and bound by unbreakable devotion. Marcus Hale faced justice, his schemes dismantled, his influence eradicated. The threat was gone, finally, completely. Ethan and Layla often sat together, watching Lucas play in the sunlit backyard, hand in hand. They smiled at what they had built, a life worth fighting for, a love worth keeping, and a future they would never take for granted. "No matter what comes next," Ethan said quietly, "we face it together." "Together," Layla confirmed, and in that word was every promise, every victory, every unspoken truth. For them, the storm had passed. For their family, the future had just begun.